Lily Chen moved gracefully between tables at Golden Harvest Restaurant, balancing plates with practiced ease. The Friday evening crowd buzzed with conversation and laughter. At 24 years old, she had mastered the art of serving with a smile, even when her feet ached and her back protested. The golden lighting of the upscale establishment cast warm shadows across the polished wood floors. Every detail of the restaurant spoke of elegance and refinement, from the crystal chandeliers to the fresh orchids adorning each table. A simple order gone wrong. Table 7 had ordered the grilled salmon with asparagus. Lily had written it down carefully in her notepad. But in the rush of the dinner service, she had accidentally brought the salmon with green beans instead. The customer, a kind elderly gentleman, had simply smiled and said it was perfectly fine. He did not mind the substitution at all. But Victor Hughes, the restaurant manager, had been watching. His hawk-like eyes missed nothing on the floor. When he saw the wrong side dish being served, his face darkened like storm clouds gathering before thunder. The manager's wrath, Victor, stormed across the dining room, his expensive leather shoes clicking sharply against the floor. He was a tall man with slicked back hair and a permanent sneer that made even confident people feel small. At 38, he had spent 15 years climbing the restaurant industry ladder, stepping on anyone who got in his way. His management style relied on fear and intimidation rather than respect and guidance. Other staff members instinctively stepped back when they saw him approaching Lily. Public humiliation, the manager grabbed Lily's arm roughly, his fingers digging into her skin through the fabric of her uniform. His voice carried across the restaurant, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. He berated her for the mistake, calling her careless and incompetent. His words were sharp as knives, designed to cut deep. Lily felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment as other diners turned to watch the scene. She wanted to explain, to defend herself. But years of needing this job had taught her when to stay silent. The witness in the corner, what? Neither Lily nor Victor noticed was the man sitting alone in the corner booth. James Thornton had been dining quietly, observing the restaurant's operations with keen interest. At 40 years old, he had built an empire from nothing, and he understood the value of treating people with dignity. His dark suit was perfectly tailored, his silver watch understated but expensive. He had been enjoying a simple meal of pasta and wine, but now his attention was completely focused on the unfolding drama. Dragged. The way Victor began pulling Lily toward the kitchen doors, still gripping her arm tightly. She stumbled slightly in her hurry to keep up with his forceful pace. The other waitress, Rachel Kim, watched helplessly from behind the beverage station. Rachel had worked with Lily for 2 years and considered her a close friend. She wanted to intervene, but feared losing her own job. The kitchen staff pretended not to notice as Victor hauled Lily through the swinging doors, their eyes fixed firmly on their cooking stations. Behind closed doors, in the narrow corridor behind the kitchen, Victor finally released Lily's arm. Red marks were already forming where his fingers had gripped her. His voice dropped to a menacing whisper, more threatening than his earlier shouting. He told her that mistakes like this were unacceptable. He stepped closer, invading her personal space in a way that made her skin crawl. Then he made a suggestion that turned her stomach. Perhaps they should discuss her continued employment privately. Maybe over drinks after closing time? A brave response. Lily felt anger rising above her fear. She had tolerated Victor's hostile management for 6 months, always needing the income too desperately to complain. But this crossed a line. Before she could formulate a response that would not cost her the job, a deep voice interrupted from the doorway. The voice commanded attention without shouting, carrying an authority that made even Victor pause mid-sentence and turn around in unexpected intervention. James Thornton stood in the corridor entrance, his presence filling the space despite his calm demeanor. His blue eyes were cold as winter ice as he assessed the situation. Victor immediately shifted from aggressor to confused host, asking if there was a problem with the meal. His tone had transformed completely, becoming obsequious and concerned. James ignored the question and instead asked Lily directly if she was all right. The simple kindness in his voice almost brought tears to her eyes. The manager's defense. Victor tried to explain that this was simply a coaching moment, standard procedure for addressing employee errors. His words tumbled out quickly, full of corporate jargon and empty justifications. James listened silently, his expression growing colder with each excuse. When Victor finally stopped talking, James spoke with quiet authority. He said he knew the difference between coaching and harassment, having been in the restaurant business for many years. The statement hung in the air between them, heavy with implications Victor did not yet understand, Private conversation. James asked Lily if she would mind giving them a moment alone. She hesitated, confused by this stranger's intervention, but grateful for his timing. She slipped past both men carefully, avoiding any contact, and returned to the main dining room. Through the kitchen window, she could see James speaking to Victor in low, measured tones. Victor's confident posture gradually crumbled, his face growing pale as the conversation continued. Whatever James was saying was clearly having a profound effect. Questions and concerns, Rachel intercepted Lily at the server station, examining the marks on her arm with worried eyes. At 26, Rachel had seen enough workplace abuse to recognize it immediately. She urged Lily to report Victor's behavior, but they both knew the reality. Victor was protected by connections higher up the management chain. His college friend ran the district. Reporting him would likely result in Lily losing her job rather than Victor facing consequences. The system was broken, but they were powerless to fix it. The aftermath: when Victor emerged from the corridor, he looked shaken and angry. He went straight to the bar and poured himself a shot of whiskey, drinking it despite the strict policy against staff alcohol consumption during shifts. The mysterious customer had disappeared, presumably having left through the back exit. Victor avoided Lily for the rest of the evening, which was a relief, but also unsettling. Something significant had happened in that conversation. But Lily had no idea what closing time. The rest of Lily's shift passed in a blur of automatic motions. She smiled at customers, delivered food, processed payments, all while her mind churned with questions. When closing time finally arrived, she changed quickly out of her uniform in the staff locker room. Her arms still ached where Victor had grabbed her. She gathered her belongings and pushed through the back door into the cool night air. Grateful to escape the tension inside, a voice in the darkness, as Lily walked toward the bus stop. A familiar voice called her name. She turned to see the man from earlier standing beside a sleek black car under the parking lot lights. He maintained a respectful distance, clearly aware that approaching a young woman alone at night could be frightening. He introduced himself properly now. James Thornton, and he had something important to discuss with her. His tone was gentle but serious, and despite her caution, Lily found herself curious about what he wanted to say. James extended a small rectangular card toward Lily, the parking lot lights reflecting off its crisp white surface. She hesitated before accepting it, her fingers trembling slightly from the evening's events. When she read the embossed text, her eyes widened in disbelief. James Thornton, Chief Executive Officer, Thornton Hospitality Group. The name of the company that owned Golden Harvest Restaurant and 30 other establishments across the country. She looked up at him, understanding flooding her face with a mixture of shock and confusion. The truth revealed, James explained, that he was the owner of the restaurant where she worked, though he preferred to remain anonymous during his visits. He conducted surprise inspections to ensure quality and proper treatment of staff. What he had witnessed tonight was completely unacceptable. Victor Hughes would no longer be employed by Thornton Hospitality Group as of the following morning. The decision had already been made during their brief conversation in the corridor. Lily felt relief wash over her, followed quickly by concern about how Victor might react to losing his position. An unusual offer, but James had not stopped her simply to explain Victor's termination. He had a proposal for her. His company was expanding into sustainable restaurant practices, and he needed someone to help coordinate the initiative. The position would involve working with suppliers, researching eco-friendly alternatives, and helping train staff across multiple locations. The role paid twice her current salary and included health benefits. Lily stared at him, suspicion creeping into her gratitude. She had heard too many stories about powerful men making questionable offers to vulnerable women. Reading her mind, James seemed to understand her hesitation immediately. He assured her this was a legitimate business opportunity, nothing inappropriate or conditional. He had been impressed by how she handled herself under pressure, maintaining professionalism even when being mistreated. That kind of composure was rare and valuable. He gestured to the business card in her hand. His direct phone number was printed there. She could call him tomorrow if she was interested, or she could simply return to work as usual with a new manager. The choice was entirely hers. Walking away before Lily could respond, James bid her good night and walked to his car. He did not pressure her for an immediate answer or try to continue the conversation. The black vehicle pulled smoothly out of the parking lot, leaving her standing alone under the yellow lights. She looked down at the business card again, running her thumb across the raised lettering. This single piece of paper represented a potential turning point in her life, but she was too cautious to believe in fairy tales. A sleepless night, Lily rode the bus home to the small apartment she shared with her younger sister, Amy. The two-bedroom unit was modest but clean, filled with second-hand furniture and photographs of happier times. Their parents had passed away in a house fire 3 years earlier, leaving Lily to care for 19-year-old Amy while she attended community college. The insurance money had covered funeral expenses and a year of rent, but nothing more. Every dollar Lily earned went toward bills, groceries, and Amy's education. Morning doubts. Amy found Lily sitting at the kitchen table the next morning, still staring at the business card beside her untouched coffee. When Lily explained what had happened, Amy's reaction was immediate excitement. This was the break they needed. Lily could finally escape the exhausting waitress schedule and have a career with real potential. But Lily remained hesitant. The offer seemed too perfect, too convenient. What if there were hidden expectations? What if James Thornton was not as honorable as he appeared? Research and discovery. Amy grabbed her laptop and began searching for information about James Thornton. Within minutes, she found dozens of articles. He had started with a single coffee shop 15 years ago and built it into a successful regional chain. Before expanding into full-service restaurants, he was known for fair treatment of employees, generous donation to education programs, and environmental advocacy. There were no scandals, no accusations, no red flags. His mother had been a single parent who worked 2 waitressing jobs to support him, which explained his reaction to Victor's behavior. The phone call encouraged by the research. Lily dialed the number on the business card. Her heart hammered as the phone rang once, then twice. James answered personally on the 3rd ring, his voice warm and professional. He seemed genuinely pleased to hear from her. When Lily asked if they could meet to discuss the position in more detail, he immediately suggested his office that afternoon. He would clear his schedule. The conversation was brief and businesslike, yet Lily detected a note of enthusiasm beneath his formal tone. The corporate office. 3 hours later, Lily stood in the lobby of Thornton Hospitality Group headquarters, feeling out of place in her simple dress and cardigan. The building was modern and bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist decor. Employees moved purposefully through the space, their casual but professional attire making Lily acutely aware of her limited wardrobe. A friendly receptionist led her to the top floor, where James's office overlooked the city skyline. In honest conversation, James greeted her warmly, offering coffee that she politely declined. His office was surprisingly understated for someone of his wealth and status. The furniture was comfortable but not ostentatious, the decorations minimal. He gestured for her to sit and immediately addressed her concerns. He admitted he had not been entirely honest the previous night. He had not randomly chosen Golden Harvest for dinner. His company had received multiple complaints about Victor Hughes over several months, and he was there specifically to investigate. The real position. Then James explained the full scope of what he was offering. The sustainability coordinator position was real, but after learning more about Lily's background, he had something different in mind. She had mentioned wanting to finish her degree in environmental science. His company would cover her remaining tuition in exchange for part-time work that aligned with her studies. She would research sustainable practices, help implement green initiatives, and build the foundation for a full-time career after graduation. The arrangement would benefit both of them. A moment of vulnerability. She felt tears prickling her eyes and blinked them back quickly. Nobody had offered her this kind of opportunity before. Life since her parents' death had been a constant struggle. choosing between her own education and Amy's, between buying groceries and paying utilities. She asked James the question that had been haunting her since last night. Why was he doing this for a stranger? He could hire anyone with more experience and better credentials. Shared understanding, James leaned back in his chair, his expression growing distant as he remembered his own past. He told her about his mother working double shifts at diners, coming home exhausted, but always making time to help with homework. He remembered managers who treated her poorly because they could, because she needed the job too desperately to complain. When his mother finally saved enough to start her own small restaurant, she built it on a foundation of respect and dignity for every employee. That philosophy had guided James as his business grew. Seeing potential, he saw something in Lily that reminded him of his mother. Strength, resilience, grace under pressure, those qualities were more valuable than any degree or certificate. He believed in investing in people, not just resumes. If she accepted the position and it did not work out, she would be no worse off than before. But he had a strong feeling it would work out very well. His instincts about people rarely failed him. Everything about Lily suggested she would exceed expectations. Making the decision, Lily wiped her eyes discreetly and took a deep breath. She accepted the position, her voice steady despite the emotions swirling inside her. James smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his serious face. They spent the next hour discussing details, salary, schedule, responsibilities. Lily would start the following Monday, working 3 afternoons per week around her class schedule. The arrangement was perfect, almost impossibly so. As she left the building with a folder of paperwork and a future suddenly bright with promise, Lily felt something she had not experienced in years. Hope. Shadow-watching Lily walked to the bus stop with a lightness in her step, too absorbed in her thoughts to notice the car parked across the street. Inside, Victor Hughes gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. He had followed her from her apartment that morning, watching and waiting. His career was destroyed, his reputation ruined. All because of this waitress and the interfering billionaire. His jaw clenched as he watched Lily disappear around the corner. This was not over. Not by a long way. Monday morning arrived with golden sunlight streaming through the windows of Thornton Hospitality Group headquarters. Lily wore a new blazer that Amy had insisted on buying with her part-time job. The courtroom was small but formal, with polished wood and official seals on the walls. Victor Hughes stood before the judge, receiving his sentence for assault and harassment. A restraining order was issued, and he was required to complete anger management counseling. Lily sat in the gallery with James beside her, Amy on her other side. She felt closure as Victor was led away. His actions had consequences, and she had found the courage to see justice through. A changed life outside the courthouse. James took Lily's hand naturally, the gesture now familiar and welcome. Their relationship had grown steadily over the months, built on mutual respect and genuine affection. Lily had completed her semester with outstanding grades. Her work at Thornton Hospitality, providing practical experience that enriched her studies. Amy had transferred to a better college, her tuition covered by the scholarship fund James had established in memory of his mother. Looking forward, they walked together toward James's car, discussing weekend plans and upcoming projects. The sustainability initiative Lily had helped launch was exceeding expectations. Earning recognition from environmental organizations, she was being promoted to full-time coordinator after graduation, with real influence over company policy. Her life had transformed completely from that night 6 months ago. But not just because of professional opportunities. The real gift, the greatest change, was internal. Lily had rediscovered confidence that years of struggle had worn away. She had learned that accepting help was not weakness, that good people still existed who offered kindness without ulterior motives. James had given her more than a job. He had given her hope, respect, and the space to become everything she was capable of being. And in return, she had given him something equally valuable. A reminder that success meant nothing without compassion, and that the best investments were always in people, not profit. True beginning as they drove away from the courthouse toward a future bright with promise. Lily reflected on how one terrible moment had led to countless beautiful ones. Sometimes the darkest nights preceded the brightest dawns. And sometimes, when you least expected it, a stranger's intervention could change everything. Not through money or power, but through the simple act of treating another human being with dignity and respect. That lesson, more than anything else, was the true gift she would carry forward into whatever came next.